When the loquats by our front door ripened, our neighbor got jealous. She secretly sprayed pesticide on our loquat tree, while I kindly warned the thieving villagers not to pick them. But the villagers wouldn't listen to me. I watched the sneaky figures outside my window. I took out my phone and secretly recorded the entire process of Zhe Kuixiang spraying the pesticide. After Zhe Kuixiang left with her sprayer, I didn't pick and throw away the pesticide-covered loquats. Instead, just like in my past life, I wrote a warning sign and hung it up. Sure enough, that afternoon, a few villagers came over with baskets to steal the loquats, thinking no one was home. Seeing Auntie Zhang and the couple, Sanzi and his wife, I couldn't help but mutter to myself. Just as I thought, they came. Neither of these families is any good. Auntie Zhang is notorious in the village for being petty and greedy. She steals from people's homes as if she owns the place. As for Sanlazy and his wife, that couple is just rotten to the core. They even blackmailed the Xiao family. I watched as both families enthusiastically picked the loquats. They were even breaking the branches and tossing loquats all over the ground. I sneered to myself, go on, pick them, eat until you get sick for all I care. This time, I won't let the real culprit get away with it. She'd just turn it around and blame me. I took out my phone and found the village chief on WeChat. I asked the village chief to add me to the village announcement group. As soon as I was in, I immediately sent a big red envelope. That immediately got everyone talking. King Hua, where did you strike it rich? Sending such a big red envelope all of a sudden. I then posted the video of Zhe Kuixiang coming to my house to spray pesticide on the loquat tree. Then I cheerfully explained to the villagers, in previous years at this time, my family would always invite everyone to come and enjoy our ripe loquats as they please. But this year, our neighbor, Zhe Kuixiang, sprayed pesticide on the tree. I was worried someone might accidentally eat them and get poisoned, so I came up with this idea. To solemnly remind all you folks not to pick or eat them, and to please tell your family members too. To avoid any accidents. Upon hearing this, one of the villagers became furious. He couldn't help but curse, Zhe Kuixiang? What's wrong with that woman? Is she crazy? Spraying pesticide on someone's loquat tree for no reason? Is she trying to poison the entire village? That old hag is so malicious. She just can't stand to see anyone doing better than her. King Hua, you should get your parents back here right away to deal with her. The Xiao family only has a few trees, but don't they produce thousands of pounds of loquats every year? And loquats are expensive right now. They're going for 6 yuan per jin. If your family picked and sold all those loquats, you could make at least several thousand. Make Zhe Kuixiang pay for it. The villagers all started chiming in, one after another. They were even more furious than I, the actual victim, was. Yeah, in past years, we all got to eat those big, sweet loquats for free. This year, just as they were finally ready, Zhe Kuixiang had to go and spray them with pesticide. We have to just stand by and watch a whole tree full of golden loquats. But we can't eat any of them. Of course the villagers are going to be angry. I replied to the villagers in the group one by one, making sure everyone got the message. Only then did I lift my head and look out the window. By this point, Sanzi had already climbed up the loquat tree. He was straddling a branch, picking loquats, peeling them, and stuffing them into his mouth. Down below, his wife was just like a hungry ghost, desperately stuffing loquats into her mouth too. Beside them, Auntie Zhang was also picking and peeling loquats, stuffing them into her grandson's mouth. And in my past life, it was her grandson who pushed my grandmother down the mountain, killing her. Auntie Zhang and Sanlaizi's family left with their baskets full, leaving the area under our loquat tree model. All the loquats that were sprayed with pesticide have been picked clean. I immediately called my father's cell phone. Dad, you have to come back. Something terrible has happened at home. Grandma Kuixiang from next door sprayed pesticide on our loquat tree. I sent a warning in the group chat, but I just came out of the bathroom and I saw that a ton of our loquats have been stolen. I don't know who didn't see the notice. They stole our loquats. They're not going to eat them, are they? They could get poisoned. After hearing what I said, Mom and Dad dropped everything they were doing in the fields and rushed back home. I saw my parents, their feet completely covered in mud, and Grandma, who was right behind them, asked, King Hua, what's wrong? Did you get into trouble at school? Why are you back so suddenly? I didn't get bullied, I just have a fever. The teacher was worried I had the flu and might infect the other students, so she sent me home to rest for a few days. I can go back once the fever goes down. Mom and Dad breathed a sigh of relief. They asked Grandma to walk me home. They didn't even stop to put on their shoes, as they rushed into the village to find everyone, but it was too late. Greedy Auntie Zhang's family, along with Sandianzi and his wife, were already eating them as they walked. By the time they got home, each of them had eaten at least half a pound. Those loquats sprayed with pesticide. By the time my dad got there, both families were already foaming at the mouth. When they heard that the loquats had been sprayed with pesticide, their relatives rushed them to the village clinic, but by the time they arrived, Zhang's grandson wasn't breathing anymore. San Lazy had eaten the most. When they brought him in, he was barely alive. Fortunately, Auntie Zhang and San Laizi's wife were saved, but what welcomed them wasn't a hug celebrating their close call, but a hard slap across the face from their own family. Uncle Zhang slapped Auntie Zhang so hard her head probably spun. Our son sends you 2,000 yuan every month. Are we that desperate for a bite to eat in this family? You just had to go and steal. And now look, our grandson is gone. Xingwan, just you see how you explain this to our son and his wife. When Auntie Zhang heard that her precious, chubby grandson was gone, and that he died from the very loquats she had stolen, she shot my family a furious, dark look. This is all your fault. My grandson ate the loquats from your house, And that's why he was poisoned. Zhang, what are you hitting me for? Go and settle the score with the Shao family. Settle what damn score? The pesticide on those loquats was sprayed by that wicked old hag, Zhe Kuixiang. That's right, Zhe Kuixiang is the one who killed my grandson. That woman was never destined to have a son in her life. She popped out 3 girls and doesn't even have a single grandson of her own. She must have been jealous that I have a grandson, so she deliberately poisoned my precious boy. The couple ground their teeth, looking like they wanted to eat Zhe Kuixiang alive. In another bed nearby, San Laizi's old mother also grabbed her daughter-in-law's arm, making her see stars. You useless slob. I should never have been so soft and let my 3rd son marry you. If our son loves loquats so much, why didn't you just plant a few trees for him? It wouldn't have killed you. But no, you were too lazy to plant them yourself. You just had to go and steal from someone else. Oh, my poor boy. You're the one who killed him. Seeing the rage burning in the eyes of both families, I quickly forwarded the video on my phone to them. You all need to go find Grandma Kuixiang. It's all her fault for spraying pesticide on our loquat tree. She's the one to blame. The 2 families exchanged a look and took off running towards Zhe Kuixiang's house. I followed behind them and dialed the police. Hello, I'd like to report a crime. Someone maliciously poisoned the loquats at my house. 2 villagers have already eaten them, and have been poisoned. I had just hung up the phone when I saw the 2 families, carrying large boxes, burst into Zhe Kuixiang's house at full speed. They were shouting and making a huge scene, demanding compensation. Zhe Kuixiang, frantic and furious, pointed at King Hua's grandmother and said, "They were poisoned by the Shao family's loquats. You should go after King Hua's grandma. They must be stingy and didn't want the villagers eating their loquats. That's why they intentionally sprayed them with pesticide. The Shao family is the one who poisoned your relatives. You should go demand compensation from them." When Sanzi's older brother heard that, he spat on the ground and cursed that Zhe Kuixiang was a despicable person. He had seen it in the video, crystal clear. It was because she sprayed pesticide on the Shao family's loquat tree that his own brother died from eating the fruit. And now, not only did she refuse to admit her mistake, she's standing here spreading rumors to hurt others. Zhe Kuixiang panicked for a moment, but she still gritted her teeth and refused to confess. That's when I took out my phone and turned the volume all the way up. I went right up to that old woman's face. "Grandma Kuixiang, my family has never done anything to you, have we? Why would you try to harm us like this? Everyone knows that the villagers come to our house to pick loquats every single year. You deliberately snuck over and sprayed pesticide on our tree. Were you trying to poison the whole village, and then frame my parents for it?" "I didn't spray any pesticide." "That's right, there was no pesticide in the sprayer at all. It was just water from the river. I saw your loquat tree looked a bit dry. So was it wrong of me to kindly spray some water on it for you?" Just then, a piercing police siren suddenly wailed from outside. I let out a cold smirk. I put my phone away. The arriving officers cleared a path through the crowd. Whether you sprayed pesticide or water, you can explain yourself down at the police station. I'm sure the officers will investigate this thoroughly and clear the innocent. No, I'm not going to the police station. I'm not the one who hurt them. They were just greedy and insisted on stealing the loquats to eat. What does that have to do with me? Zhe Kuixiang struggled as the officers escorted her into the police car. The Zhe family's home was cordoned off with police tape. The officers quickly found the pesticide sprayer inside. They also found an empty pesticide bottle in the yard. After testing, the chemical from the bottle was an exact match for the residue on our loquat tree. Because I was the one who secretly filmed the video, I was also taken to the police station. "Shao Qinghua, you knew that Zhe Kuixiang was spraying pesticide on your family's tree, so why didn't you go out and stop her?" I explained with a bitter smile. At the time, I had a high fever and felt completely weak. Plus, Grandma Kuixiang and my family have never gotten along, and there was no one else home. I was afraid she would attack me or curse me out if I confronted her directly, so I secretly recorded the video, planning to show it to my father later. To prevent any misunderstandings among the villagers, I even posted the video in the village chat group. Just in case someone didn't see the message, I also wrote a warning sign by hand and hung it on the tree. The sign should still be there right now. The officer continued his questioning. "So why didn't you intervene when the families of Zhang and Sanzi came to pick the loquats?" I quickly explained that I had a stomachache and went to the restroom behind the house. I didn't notice anyone come by until I returned and saw loquat leaves scattered in front of the door. The fruit on the tree was also noticeably gone, so I realized something might be wrong. I immediately called my family to tell them, and I even said I could provide my call history as proof. I unlocked my phone and gave it to the police. An hour later, I finished giving my statement and came out. Seeing me come out, my family immediately surrounded me. I took my parents' hands and we went home together. However, just as we got home, we heard crying and smashing sounds coming from next door. "Stop smashing things, all of you, stop. Zhe Kuixiang was the one who sprayed the pesticide. What does that have to do with me? Zhe Kuixiang is your wife. It's her fault, so you're the one who has to pay. I'm going to divorce Zhe Kuixiang. As soon as she gets out of the police station, I'm divorcing her. She won't be part of this family anymore. If you want money, go ask her or her family for it." Zhe Kuixiang's husband's face was red with rage, but he didn't get any support from anyone. This man was famous for being a tyrant at home. He was always either hitting or yelling at his wife. His 3 daughters often got beatings from him before they were married, too. Ever since the daughters got married, they almost never came home, except for short, obligatory visits during the holidays. It's no wonder, really. When they got married, their own father had personally thrown this saying at them. A married daughter is like spilled water, so don't come back for no reason. Now that Jie Kui Shang had caused this huge disaster, the man frantically called his daughters and sons-in-law to come help, but not a single one of them would answer. See how obedient they are. Their father told them not to come back, and so they're really not coming back. Meanwhile, Cheng's and Sanzi's families had already stormed into Jie Kui Zhang's home. They smashed the place to bits. The family's bankbook, 2 fat pigs, a plow ox, over 10 laying hens, and more than 20 bags of rice patty were all divided up between the 2 families right then and there. I secretly snuck a couple of looks, and saw the bodies of Auntie Cheng's little grandson and Sanchizi just lying there in the Zhai family's home. Seeing that my family had returned, Jie Kui Zhang's husband quickly tried to shift the blame, pointing at my parents and shouting, "If your 2 families hadn't stolen my family's loquats, how could you have been poisoned? My family is responsible too. Why don't you go get money from them?" That's right, King Hua is about to take his college entrance exams. Go to their house and demand money. If they don't give it to you, then go to his school and cause a scene. Make such a fuss that their King Hua can't even attend school. What Kui Zhang's husband said wasn't wrong. If it weren't for my family's tree, none of this would have happened. And sure enough, Cheng's and San Laizi's families all turned to look at us, their eyes filled with a crazed, predatory glint. I couldn't help but think to myself that no good deed goes unpunished. The reward for being kind is just getting walked all over. Looking at the crowd of onlookers that had gathered, I stepped forward, my eyes welling up. I suddenly gave a deep bow to everyone, and then asked in a loud voice, "In all these years, is there a single family in this village that hasn't tasted our loquats? My grandpa and my parents have always treated you villagers like family and never stopped anyone from coming to pick some for themselves. Now, I'm not asking for you to stand up for us. I just hope someone can speak a single word of fairness." As I said this, my voice grew more emotional. Those loquat trees, it's true, our family planted them, but we never invited Auntie Cheng's family or the other to come steal them, did we? They came to our home to steal our loquats. We haven't even held them accountable for our losses yet. Now, they've gone and poisoned themselves. And they have the nerve to come demand money from us, the victims? What kind of sense does that make? I shot a warning look at the crowd, my voice turning cold again. If my family really has to pay for this today, then from now on, whenever I see someone spraying pesticides in their fields, I'll go take a bite and then lie down to demand compensation. After all, the crops belong to you all, and they're the ones who sprayed the pesticides. Even if I was stealing, if something happened to me from eating them, it would still be your responsibility. These words made the villagers, who were previously uninvolved, start to mutter uneasily. From within the crowd, 5th grade uncle, who had been silent all this time, came forward, trembling and leaning on his cane. He was one of the most senior elders in the village. His cloudy eyes swept over the crowd, finally landing on King Hua's face. "King Hua, what you're saying makes sense, but you also have to think about your family's loquats over the years. Did everyone really steal them? When your grandfather was alive, he used to say that your family's fruit was everyone's fruit. If any child was craving some and picked a few, it wasn't considered stealing. Now you're making a big deal about the word, stealing. Isn't that too heartless? 5th grade uncle, I respect you as an elder, but sharing the fruit was a gesture of goodwill. Taking without asking is stealing. My grandfather was kind, but he never said people could take as much as they wanted and then turn around and blame us. Today, they came to steal our fruit and got sick. Now they're demanding I pay them? What kind of logic is that? That may be so, but the villagers are poor. Your family is well off, can't you be a little more accommodating? If you really start settling scores, the community will fall apart. The community fell apart a long time ago. I understood that from the moment they stood at my door demanding money. Kindness doesn't earn you respect, it just gets you bullied. Suddenly, a cold laugh came from the crowd. It was Zhao Laowu from the east end of the village. He was carrying a green bottle in his hand. He staggered forward. "King Hua, you say the community's fallen apart? Then tell me, when your grandfather built his house back then, he took up half a row of my family's land. Did your family ever pay a single cent? And the year before last, your dad chopped down 2 of my family's poplar trees for firewood. Did my family say anything? Now, your family's few lousy loquat trees have caused a death. And you have the nerve to call yourselves the victims?" That moment, I was stunned because I had never heard my family mention these things. But my father suddenly stepped forward and retorted sharply, saying that the housing plots back then were allocated by the village authorities. Zhao Laowu's family had already received proper compensation for that half row of land. As for those 2 poplar trees, that was because the Zhao family's son was caught red-handed chopping down our fruit trees, and Zhao Laowu's own father agreed to give them as compensation. My father grew more agitated as he spoke, stating that if the other side wanted to dig up old grudges, then they might as well lay everything out in the open and clear it all up in front of everyone today. Zhao Laowu was left speechless by this evidence-based rebuttal, his face flushing bright red. But he still tried to save face, craning his neck and muttering relentlessly about false kindness and things like that. Just then, sister-in-law Chen, a villager who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. "Zhao Laowu, stop stirring up trouble here. Back when your wife was having a difficult childbirth, it was King Hua's grandmother who ran 10 li overnight to get the midwife, and she didn't ask for a single cent from your family. For you to say something like this now, have you no conscience?" Zhao Laowu's face turned red, and he mumbled as he retreated back into the crowd. His words were like a pebble tossed into a lake, creating more ripples. Sanzi's cousin pushed his way forward, pointed at my father's nose, and cursed. "Your family planted the loquat trees by the road. Weren't you just trying to tempt people to pick them? Now that something's happened, you want to wash your hands of it? No way. My grandfather planted the trees, and the road is public property. Are you saying we should have moved the trees? So you think you're justified in stealing? The crowd began to chatter all at once. Some brought up old grievances from over a decade ago. Some said that since our family had a good harvest that year, we should have shared more with the village. Others insisted that since we were rich, we should pay more. The villagers who had been wavering, I got sidetracked by these old issues again. I looked at all the faces, so familiar yet so strange. Suddenly, I felt a chill run down my spine. I remembered how Grandma always said the villagers were simple and honest. Now it seems that beneath that simplicity lies scheming and jealousy. Fine, if you want to dig up old dirt, let's dig it all up. Which family owes us money and hasn't paid it back? Which family borrowed our grain and never returned it? Which family's child was able to go to school because my dad covered their tuition? Let's settle every single one of these debts today. Those words were like a bucket of cold water, sobering up some of the villagers who still wanted to cause trouble. They looked at each other. Was there any family here who hadn't been helped by the Shao family? If we really started keeping score, they'd be the ones in the wrong. The villagers who were gathered around just to watch the drama couldn't help but murmur amongst themselves after hearing what I said. What King Hawa's family said really does make sense. We all plant trees in the village, are we supposed to just cut them down? And when we're growing vegetables, who doesn't use a little bit of pesticide? If we really make King Hawa's family pay up, then from now on, everyone in the village will start doing the same thing. How are we supposed to farm then? I watched as the villagers chimed in, one after another. Tide was gradually turning in my family's favor. My parents exchanged a look and hardened their resolve. Taking my grandma by the hand, they walked straight to Jay Kuiwa's front door. And they just sat right down on the stone doorstep, taking a stance that they wouldn't leave until they got justice. My mom, especially, stood right in front of Jay Kuiwa's house and started yelling at the top of her lungs. She demanded that Jay Kuiwa's husband come out and make things clear. He's the one who kept claiming the Shao family's fruit harmed his family. So today, we're going to settle this account once and for all. She also demanded that they first pay up for all the different kinds of fruit they've secretly swiped from our orchard over the years. Every single piece, calculated and paid for. And from this day forward, you can save yourselves the trouble of shamelessly coming over to pick them, so you don't eat something, get sick, and blame it on the Shao family again. My Shao family can't afford to take the blame for this. After shouting, my mother whipped her head around, and glared at those villagers who were just insisting we should pay up. She pointed right at them without holding anything back and said, "And as for you lot, don't you be in such a hurry to leave. Over the years, how many loquats, how many plums, peaches, persimmons, and pomegranates have you all picked from our trees? You add it all up, and it's not a small amount. Today, while everyone's here, you can settle your debts as well. From now on, we'll go our separate ways. Don't you even think about touching a single piece of our fruit ever again. That way, if one day someone in your family eats fruit from our trees and gets a headache, a fever, or if something terrible happens, I wouldn't be able to talk my way out of it, even if I had 1,000 mouths." My mother's words made the faces of those villagers, the ones who always loved to take advantage, turn red and then pale. Zhao Luosi's wife couldn't hold back anymore. She jumped out and shrieked, "Oh, so now you're accusing us of stealing your fruit? It was your own mother-in-law who said we could feel free to pick some. How can you go back on her word now?" Hearing this, my father started trembling with rage. He pointed at her and said, "Feel free to pick some, is just a polite thing to say. But you people, you carried them home by the basketful. Last year, our biggest plum tree was stripped bare of all its fruit overnight. Wasn't that your son's doing? Did you see him? Do you have any proof? Without proof, it's just slander." I saw that Zhao Sis' wife was completely unreasonable. I walked over to my grandmother's side and pulled out a shabby little notebook from my pocket. I flipped open a page, pointed to it for everyone to see, and said, "You want proof?" My grandma started keeping records 3 years ago, and today, I brought the ledger with me. It says which family picked what and when. For example, in May of 2022, how much was picked. It's all written down right here. 25 Jin. She always said we should remember the good deeds of others. I never thought it would end up being used to record their bad deeds. Just as I finished speaking, Zhao Sis' wife rushed forward to grab the notebook, but I sidestepped her. She shouted that the ledger was fake. I just gave a cold laugh. I flipped open a page and read aloud the types and amount of produce Zhao Sis' wife had picked. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The families of Erjang and Sanzi looked mortified. Erjang's wife rushed out and yelled, "So what if we recorded it? The fruit would just rot anyway. We were helping you by picking it." "Helping? After you picked it, you called our fruit sour. You called my family stingy. Is that what you call helping? King Hawa, last year when my kid was sick, it was your dad who fronted the 3,000 yuan for the medical bills. I've always remembered that. Today, I'm standing with your family on this. Uncle Lu, fellow villagers. I, Shao King Hawa, am not here today to collect a debt. I'm just asking for justice. Stealing is stealing. Harming is harming. Just because we're kind doesn't mean we deserve to be bullied." My words, combined with the densely written pages of the notebook, silenced the villagers. A few troublemakers still tried to snatch the notebook. I immediately put the ledger away and threatened everyone that if this wasn't settled today, I would hand this notebook over to the village head and to the town officials. Let everyone see how the people in our village repay kindness. Wouldn't we lose our civilized village title? Everyone in the village knew my family was easygoing. For years, whenever the melons, fruits, and vegetables in our fields were ripe, Someone would always come over to take advantage, especially those few families who were just kicking us while we were down. They regularly took far more than their share from us. Not only did they eat it themselves, but they would eat their fill and then take a lot home, picking huge amounts every time. They would take it back to give to their relatives. My parents and grandma always used to say, "There are only 4 of us in our family, we can't eat all the fruit on the trees anyway. It's better to do a good deed and give it away. The villagers will remember our kindness. That way, if our family ever faces any difficulties, the villagers will help us out." But we never expected the old saying to be true. A small favor creates gratitude, a large one creates an enemy. After eating our family's fruit for so many years, the moment we were framed and wrongly accused. First ones to kick us while we were down were the very people who had taken advantage of us the most. On the other hand, it was the villagers who rarely came to the Shao family to pick fruit who spoke many good words for us. When those who often stole fruit saw that my parents were adamant and insisted on settling the score with them, most people started siding with the Shao family, accusing Jie Quaxiang's family of being unreasonable. It was clearly them who sprayed the pesticide that harmed people, yet they tried to frame my family for it. The villagers, seeing which way the wind was blowing, started turning their accusations toward Jie Quaxiang's family. I looked at those familiar faces, so aggressive just moments ago, but now filled with righteousness, and a deep sense of sorrow washed over me. Zhang's son suddenly rushed in front of me. He dropped to his knees with a thud. "King Hua, I'm sorry, it was my mom's greed. The hospital said she just took her last breath, out of respect for the dead. Could you possibly pay a little for the funeral expenses? My family really has no money for the funeral. Your mom was poisoned to death from stealing my family's fruit. The responsibility lies with Jie Quaxiang. If you want to ask for funeral expenses, I should go to her family's house, but they're poor too. King Hua, hasn't your family always been kind-hearted? Please, just help us." I looked at Zhang kneeling on the ground. My heart was heavy with mixed feelings. I remembered how Zhang used to take me out to play when we were kids. Grandma would always sneak him fruit to eat, but now, he was kneeling here for money. Before I even had a chance to speak, Sanlaizi's mother pushed her way through the crowd. "King Hua, I know my family was in the wrong, but she's gone now and deserves a proper burial. Just think of it as a good deed. Please, give us something. We swear we won't tell anyone you paid compensation. We'll just say it was a sympathy gift from your family. This isn't about money. If my family pays today, then tomorrow, someone else will dare to poison another orchard to extort money. I absolutely cannot set this precedent. You talk so righteously, aren't you just unwilling to part with your money? Your family's business is so big. Do you really care about this small amount?" Just then, my grandmother, who had been silent the whole time, walked forward unsteadily. From inside her coat, she took out a small bundle wrapped in a handkerchief and slowly unfolded it. Inside was a wad of wrinkled bills. "Zhang, this 500 yuan is the money I saved up from selling eggs. Take it and buy your mother a proper burial shroud. This isn't compensation money, it's just a heartfelt gesture from an old woman. Grandma, 500 isn't enough." "Yeah, the woman is already dead. The King Hua family is well off. They can afford to give a little more. It would be a good deed. My family's kindness is not something you can use to guilt-trip us. If I pay a single penny today, then tomorrow people will start stealing on purpose just to demand money. I will absolutely not set that precedent. If anyone dares to cause trouble here again, we're calling the police. We'll report them for blackmail and extortion. And another thing, over all these years, any of you who have stolen fruit from our orchard had better pay us back within the next 2 days. Otherwise, don't blame me for what happens next." Seeing that I wouldn't budge, Zhang's family and Sanlaizi's family grew nervous. After all, when it came to stealing fruit from the Shao family, their 2 families had stolen the most over the years. If we were to really settle the score, my family should be the one demanding compensation from them. Besides, Jie Quaxiang is already in custody, and I have evidence of her spraying the pesticide. Even if this goes to court, they have no evidence to demand compensation from us. It's like I said, nobody forced them at knife point to come and steal our loquats. Because the evidence was solid, Jie Quaxiang was found guilty of poisoning resulting in a death, and was sentenced to life in prison. I heard that after the verdict came out, Jie Quaxiang's husband went to the prison with a divorce agreement, demanding a divorce. The verdict is in, life in prison. You're going to rot in here for the rest of your life. You're never getting out. I'm a grown man. I can't be expected to live like a widower for the rest of my life, can I? Just sign this, and let's get it over with. Don't stop me from finding someone else to take care of me. I've spent most of my life with you, and in the end, you want a divorce? How can I ever show my face again? No way. I won't agree to a divorce. It's useless even if you refuse." After saying that, Jie Quaxiang's husband turned and walked away. Before long, he brought an old widow home. Not only did Auntie Zhang, who'd accidentally ingested too much pesticide, pass away, even Sanzi's wife couldn't hold on for the verdict. She died of respiratory failure due to complications. She died in her hospital bed. After this happened, my grandma wiped her tears and told my father to get the axe. Chop down those trouble-making loquat trees by the gate. Just as my father was going to get it, I stopped him. "Dad, you can't." The villagers, who were watching the drama unfold, couldn't help but laugh out loud at the scene. Old man Sun Lu from the west end of the village, chewing on a steamed bun, said sarcastically. Well, King Hua, can't bear to part with these precious trees, huh? I guess that makes sense. After all, they were your grandpa's pride and joy. More valuable than human life, eh? Uncle Sun Lu, last year, a dozen fish in your pond died. You insisted they were poisoned by pesticide that blew over from our yard and forced my family to pay you 500 yuan. But what happened later? It was your own son, wasn't it? He was just playing around and poured battery acid from his electric scooter into the pond. Isn't that right? So when are you going to pay back that 500 yuan? Why you? What are you talking about? That's nonsense. You know perfectly well if it's nonsense or not. And I'm making myself clear right now. These trees are on our property, and we're not cutting down a single one. If anyone dares to make an issue of these trees again, we'll settle all our scores, old and new. This is outrageous. People have died, and they still won't cut down the trees. They're deliberately preventing the dead from resting in peace. They're just trying to bring more bad luck on all of us. Everyone, look at this. This is what the Shao family is really like. Her wailing stirred some of the more superstitious villagers, who began to murmur in agreement. Then, old man Zhao Wu piped up again. King Hua, it's fine if you don't cut down the trees. But in that case, you have to pay. Hire a master to come to the village and chant scriptures for 3 days. Let his righteous energy drive away this evil influence. Otherwise, with the shadows of these trees hanging over the village, none of us will have any peace of mind. Our trees are growing on our land. How is that any of your business? You want to hold a chanting ceremony? Fine. Whoever feels uneasy can pay for it themselves. Our family won't contribute a single penny. Child, why are you so stubborn? Can't you just back down a little? We're all neighbors here. Just give in a little. Auntie Lee, do you remember when your grandson fell into the ditch? It was my dad who jumped in and pulled him out. What did you say back then? You said our family were good people, that you would be grateful for the rest of your life. And what about now? Just because I refuse to cut down trees that have done nothing wrong, refuse to pay money we don't owe, I've suddenly become a hard-hearted villain? Auntie Lee opened her mouth to speak, but then lowered her head and disappeared into the crowd. My father looked at my defiant posture, then at the greedy faces outside our yard. The last of his hesitation vanished. He walked over to my side and said to everyone in a heavy voice, the trees, we're not cutting them down, and we're not paying. If anyone finds our house to be an eyesore, feel free to sue. From this day on, if anyone dares to step into my yard without permission or steal even a single leaf, I'm calling the police to report a thief. Her words were so final, they stunned the villagers. They were used to the Shao family's gentle and yielding nature, and this was the first time they'd seen such a firm stance. Sun Lao Lu muttered, just you wait, and pulled away a few others who still wanted to cause trouble. They sullenly dispersed. Grandma looked at the empty courtyard gate, and tears started streaming down her face again. From now on, how are we supposed to live? Grandma, it's the people who are at fault, not the loquat trees. Besides, these few loquat trees, Grandpa planted them especially for you when he was alive. Now that Grandpa's gone, these loquat trees are the last thing you have to remember him by. How could you, for the sake of a few thieves, cut down the memory Grandpa left for you? Grandma hugged me and cried her heart out. Although the loquat trees were saved, the atmosphere in the village became increasingly oppressive. Some people felt our family was too harsh, too heartless. They started to secretly exclude us. Then, our vegetable patch was trampled during the night. The clothes we hung out to dry were often splattered with mud. One evening, I came back from town and found that someone had written on our courtyard wall in red paint, "Cold-hearted family will get what's coming to them," in big characters. I silently fetched some water and scrubbed it off, bit by bit. That night, I didn't sleep well. In a daze, I heard a faint snap from the backyard. It sounded like a branch breaking. He sat up with a start and gently shook my father awake. The two of us grabbed a flashlight and tiptoed to the backyard. There, under the moonlight, a dark figure was leaning over the wall from a tree, breaking off a branch full of fruit. My dad shouted and suddenly shone the flashlight on him. The figure was startled and hastily tried to jump off the wall. He missed his footing and fell into the Shao family's vegetable patch in the backyard. Zhao Lao Wu had a hard fall. Grimacing in pain, he tried to get up and run, but my dad pinned him down. "Zhao Lao Wu, you climb over our wall in the middle of the night to steal our loquats." I wasn't stealing. I was just taking a look. Taking a look? Does taking a look require a basket? I shone the flashlight at the base of the wall. Sure enough, an old bamboo basket was lying there. I walked over and saw that the basket was already filled with a pile of loquats and a handful of scallions. Seeing that the evidence was undeniable, Zhao Lao Wu couldn't talk his way out of it. So he decided to play dumb. "Zhao Lao Wu, a few worthless loquats and rotten scallions. How much are they even worth? Do you really have to make such a big deal? We're all neighbors here. Make a big deal? Last time, you trampled our vegetable patch. You threw mud, and you wrote on our wall. This time, you climb our wall to steal. What's next? Are you trying to set a fire?" After I spoke, I took out my phone and directly called the town's police station. Zhao Lao Wu panicked then. He never imagined I'd actually dare to call the police. Don't call the police. King Hua, I was wrong. I'll give you back the loquats, and the scallions too. I'll pay you. I'm begging you, don't call the police. If I get locked up, who's going to take care of my old mother at home? Zhao Lao Wu played the victim card while kneeling on the ground, begging for mercy. The neighbors were startled, and a few lights flickered on. People were peeking out, but I remained unmoved. I clearly stated the situation and address over the phone, then hung up and said to my father, "Dad, keep an eye on him. Wait for the police to get here." "Shao King Hua, you ruthless brat, no wonder everyone in the village curses you. You deserve to be struck by lightning. All the fruit your family grows will rot sooner or later." I immediately had my father find a rope and tie him up. The police arrived quickly. Although the value of what Zhao Lao Wu stole wasn't high, was considered illegal trespassing at night, which is a rather serious offense. In the end, Zhao Laowu was detained for 5 days and fined to compensate my family for our losses. This incident was like a bomb that went off again in our small village. Some people thought my family did the right thing, but many more, especially those who already resented our family or had taken advantage of us before, thought I was too cruel. The rumors became even more vicious. What hurt the most was when one day I saw Granny Zhang, who had always been on good terms with my grandma, spot Grandma from a distance at the village entrance and deliberately turn around to walk away. Grandma stood frozen, watching her old friend's retreating figure. She watched for a long time before silently turning to go home. She sat on the doorstep, gazing at that loquat tree, and finally said the words she had been suppressing for so long. If I'd known it would come to this, it would have been better to just give him some money and be done with it. Grandma, we did nothing wrong. If we compromise today, they'll be even more outrageous tomorrow. A few days later, the village chief came to our door to mediate, advising my family to prioritize harmony, and even hinted that we should pay a little something to quell the public anger. My father slammed his fist on the table in rage. We're the victims. Why on earth should we be the ones paying money? That may be true, but everyone in the village is saying your family is hard-hearted and unforgiving. How are you going to live in this village from now on? Village chief, if we're going to be ostracized for insisting on doing the right thing, then maybe this village isn't worth staying in at all. As my words hung in the air, a dead silence fell over the yard. Village chief opened his mouth, but all that came out was a heavy sigh. With his hands behind his back, he turned and left our little yard. I turned to comfort my grandma, who was crying silently. Grandma, Dad, Mom, let's pack our things. The old house in town is old, but we can fix it up and live there. We'll harvest what crops we can from the fields, and what we can't, we'll just leave it. Good, we're finally leaving this miserable place. As long as our family is healthy and together, we can make a living anywhere. For the next few days, my family kept the courtyard gate tightly shut. We began to quietly pack our belongings. At first, some people scoffed, thinking my family was just making empty threats. However, when they saw my family packing up our few pieces of furniture, and even contacting a truck from town, the villagers finally realized that this family, always seen as honest and easy to bully, was actually serious this time. Some people admired my family's backbone, while others called me arrogant for disregarding our village ties. But regardless, from that day on, no one dared to bully my family again. A few years later, because of an accident, Zhe Kuixiang ended up in prison. Later on, I also met someone willing to plant a loquat tree for me. When she heard about the incident where our loquat tree poisoned 3 people, my fiancé immediately had the courtyard walls of our villa raised to 3 meters. That settled it. Forget about stealing fruit, you couldn't even see the tops of our trees. I'd like to see who dares to get any ideas now. This time,